The Spirit is speaking, not in the voice of human opinion, not in the noise of the news, not in the endless chatter of this age, but with a voice that pierces the veil of time. It is a voice that has sounded before storms, a voice that called before floods, a voice that warned before kingdoms fell. And now, as the days rush toward August 14th, 2025, that voice is speaking again. It does not speak to entertain. It does not speak to soothe. It speaks to awaken. We are standing in an hour when the world is rushing forward with an unstoppable momentum, like a river swollen by the rains, sweeping away anything not anchored. The foundations we once thought unshakable are trembling. The lines that once separated light from darkness are being erased by the hands of compromise. And yet, in the midst of this shaking, the Spirit is calling, not with a gentle suggestion, but with a command that carries the weight of eternity. He who has ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying. What is coming is not just another season on the calendar. It is a prophetic moment, a hinge of history, when the unseen will break into the seen, when the eternal will collide with the temporal. It is a moment of separation, of exposure, of decision. A moment when the hidden will be revealed, when the door will begin to close, when the false securities of men will fail. And in this moment, there will be a clear line between those who belong to the kingdom and those who do not. The Spirit has spoken 6 words for this time, 6 revelations that will unfold like seals being opened. They are not for speculation, but for preparation. They are not to satisfy curiosity, but to stir urgency. Each word carries a weight that demands a response. For in the days ahead, neutrality will vanish, and every heart will be revealed for what it is. So hear the call. The shaking is not coming. It is already here. The door is not about to close. It is already moving on its hinges. The Spirit is not speaking for tomorrow. He is speaking for now. What you do with these words will not simply shape your week or your year. It will shape your eternity. The Spirit is speaking in this hour with a voice that cuts through the noise of the world, a voice that does not whisper to be polite, but thunders to awaken. There is a shaking coming, not a small tremor that stirs the dust, but a shaking that will sift everything and everyone. The line between those who belong to the kingdom and those who only claim to will no longer be hidden in the shadows. The call is going forth. Come out from among them. Be separate. Do not touch what is unclean. This is not a suggestion for the overly devout. It is a command for every heart that would survive the coming storm. In the days ahead, the world will press harder than ever to mold the people of God into its image. It will offer its hand in false friendship, its table in deceptive unity. But the unity of compromise is not the unity of the Spirit. It is a unity built on the sand of rebellion. And when the tide of judgment comes, it will not stand. There is a holiness the world cannot counterfeit. It is not the holiness of isolation or pride, but of separation unto the one who is holy. To separate from the defiled is not to hate people, but to refuse the poison they drink, to turn from the altars they bow to. The Spirit is warning that many will be tempted to stay connected to what they know is defiled, thinking they can manage the contamination. But the contamination will spread faster than they imagine. You cannot cling to Egypt and walk into the promised land. You cannot keep the idols in the corner of your tent and expect the glory to fill it. There is no middle ground left. The Spirit says, choose this day whom you will serve. And in this separation comes the second word, the exposure of hidden things. The Lord is pulling back the curtains, not gently but suddenly, not gradually but with the force of light, flooding into darkness. What has been done in secret will be declared from the rooftops. The Spirit warns, if you bring it into the light now, you will find mercy. If you wait until I uncover it, you will find no place to hide. In governments, in the halls of power, the schemes that have been hidden will be brought to the surface. In churches, the masks will fall, and the true face beneath will be revealed. In households, what has been concealed will be exposed, not to destroy, but to bring the chance of repentance before the time of judgment. The exposure will be shocking to many. People you thought untouchable will be brought low. Leaders who have walked in arrogance will stumble, not because the enemy has found them, but because God has weighed them in the balance and found them wanting. And yet, the exposure is not only for others. The Spirit calls each one of us to search our own hearts. What secret sin do you justify because no one sees it? What bitterness have you hidden behind a smile? What compromise have you dressed in religious language so you can keep it without shame. The same light that will expose the wicked in the world is the light that will reveal the dark corners of our own hearts. This is not a time to hope you can hide. It is a time to run to the mercy seat. The one who confesses now will find cleansing. The one who hides will be stripped bare before all. The Spirit is merciful enough to warn before he exposes. But the warning is not eternal. There is a window, and it is closing. Those who hear the call to separate and refuse will find themselves shaken with the things they have clung to. Those who hear the call to repent and delay will find themselves unprepared when the light comes. The Spirit is saying that this shaking, this separation, and this exposure are not acts of cruelty, but acts of love. They are the interventions of a God who would rather break you now than watch you be destroyed forever. But love does not mean the absence of consequence. It means the offer of a way out before it is too late. The voice is speaking, the trumpet is sounding, and the light is rising. And the light is rising. Those who respond will stand. Those who refuse will fall. The choice is already before us. The Spirit speaks of a door, not a door built by human hands, but the narrow door of mercy that leads to life. It has stood open by grace, wide enough for any who would humble themselves and enter, yet narrow enough that nothing of sin or pride can pass through. For years, it has remained open, a standing invitation for the weary, the broken, the prodigal. But now, the Spirit says, the door is beginning to close. Not because the heart of God has grown cold, but because the appointed time is drawing to its end. There is a moment when the ark's door shuts and the flood begins. A moment when the bridegroom rises and the wedding feast is sealed. A moment when mercy is no longer an option, but a memory. Many think they will have time later, that they can enter when it is convenient, that the door will wait for them. But the Spirit warns, the door does not wait for those who are not ready. It will not be held open by the delay of the unprepared. Those who wait until they see the storm will find it already upon them. The day will come when the invitation will still be remembered, but the way will be barred. There will be those who knock, crying, "O Lord, Lord, open to us," but they will hear the voice from within saying, "I do not know you." The tragedy will not be that they were never called, but that they were called and did not come. The Spirit calls now, not tomorrow, not after the next distraction, not after the next indulgence, now. To enter the narrow door is to let go of the baggage that will not fit through. It means releasing the loves, the ambitions, the secret sins that cling to us. It means choosing the eternal over the urgent, the unseen over the visible, the kingdom over the world. This is not a season to stand near the threshold, admiring the door from the outside. It is a season to go in, and go in fully. Alongside the closing door comes another shaking, not of hearts alone, but of the systems and securities in which the world has trusted. The Spirit speaks of a disruption that will strike at the very foundations of economic stability. What has been considered unshakable will shake. The wealth that seemed secure will evaporate. The accounts that seemed full will be drained. The resources that promise safety will suddenly be vulnerable. For too long, the people of God have placed confidence in the provisions of the world instead of the provider himself. The Spirit warns that the shaking of wealth is not merely an earthly event, but a divine intervention to strip away false trusts. When the ground beneath your feet trembles, you learn quickly what was truly holding you up. This is not only about nations and their treasuries, it is personal. The job that once felt permanent may vanish. The investments that looked unshakable may crumble. The savings meant for the future may lose their value in a single night. The Spirit is not speaking this to produce fear, but to awaken the heart to where its treasure truly lies. Store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, the voice whispers, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. The economy of heaven is not subject to inflation, recession, or collapse. It is not shaken by markets or manipulated by men. Those who anchor their provision in the kingdom will not be without, even when the world's supply lines break. In the days ahead, this shaking will expose the idols of wealth, the subtle belief that if the account is full, life is secure, the unspoken confidence that material abundance equals blessing. But the Spirit says, blessing is not measured by what you can hold in your hand, but by the presence of the one who holds you. When the shaking comes, those who have learned to live from his hand will find that the manna does not fail. The oil will not run dry. The provision will meet the need at the exact moment it is needed. Yet those who have built their security on earthly wealth will feel the collapse not only in their finances, but in their hearts. This is why the call is urgent, to enter the narrow door now before it closes, and to shift your treasure into the realm that cannot be shaken. For what is coming will not allow a middle ground. The door will be shut to those who delay, and the wealth of the world will betray those who trust it. The Spirit speaks not to frighten, but to prepare, not to strip you of life, but to draw you into the life that cannot be taken. The time is short, the call is clear, and the shaking has already begun. The Spirit is marking his own in this hour, setting apart those who belong to him with a seal that no hand can counterfeit and no power can erase. It is not a mark placed by the world's systems, nor is it something that can be earned or purchased. It is the mark of distinction that comes from walking in covenant, from surrendering fully to the King of Heaven. In times past, the difference between the righteous and the wicked could be blurred in the eyes of men. The wheat and the tares grew together in the same field, and only the discerning eye could tell them apart. But the season we are entering will make the difference undeniable. The pressure of the age will press each heart until its true nature is revealed. Those who are his will carry a light that the darkness cannot extinguish, a peace that the storms cannot steal, and a faith that no trial can break. This mark is not for display, but for protection. It is the same as when the blood was placed upon the doorposts in Egypt, a sign that caused the destroyer to pass by. Those who carry it will not be exempt from the shaking, but they will be preserved through it. The plagues that strike Egypt will not destroy Goshen. The famine that empties the barns of the wicked will not starve the righteous. It is not because the righteous are better in themselves, but because they have placed themselves under the covering of the Almighty. In this day, those who have chosen compromise will find themselves without covering. Those who have chosen surrender will find themselves under the shadow of his wings, and yet the mark will also be visible to the world. The Spirit says it will be impossible to remain hidden. In the face of increasing darkness, the light will draw both the hungry and the hostile. Some will come to the light for refuge. Others will come to extinguish it. Those who bear the mark will be called strange, dangerous, or even enemies of the world's peace. But the Spirit says this distinction is not to be feared. It is a badge of belonging, a witness to the truth that cannot be silenced. This is the hour to stand boldly, to live in such a way that your allegiance is unquestionable. At the same time, the Spirit calls forth the watchmen to their posts. The final trumpet for the watchmen is sounding, the last summons to those entrusted with warning the people. This is not a time for silence. It is not a time for messages that soothe, but fail to save. The blood of those who perish without warning will be required at the hands of those who saw danger coming and said nothing. The watchman's role is not to predict the future for curiosity's sake, but to sound the alarm so the city can prepare. When the enemy approaches, the one who sleeps on the wall has betrayed his post. The Spirit says the time for hesitation is over. Those who see must speak. Those who know must tell. Those who understand the hour must cry aloud. This is not only for leaders and preachers, but for every believer who sees the danger. In homes, in workplaces, in streets, the watchmen are to warn. To tell someone the truth, even if they reject it, is mercy. To remain silent so they will not be offended is cruelty. The days ahead will demand courage to speak what the world does not want to hear. The call of the watchman is not measured by how many listen, but by whether the trumpet was sounded. The Spirit also warns that some who once stood as watchmen have abandoned their posts. They have traded their place on the wall for comfort in the city. They have chosen popularity over obedience, applause over truth. To them, the trumpet still calls, offering one last chance to return to their assignment before the battle overtakes them. For those who answer the call, the reward is sure. The crown is not for those who kept silent, but for those who were faithful to warn. The days ahead will test every heart. The mark of distinction will draw the attention of both heaven and earth, of angels and adversaries. The sound of the watchman's trumpet will awaken some and anger others. But the Spirit is making it clear. Neutrality will not be an option. You will be marked by heaven or by the world. You will sound the trumpet or remain silent in guilt. And when the hour comes, those who bear the mark and those who lift their voices will stand as witnesses that they heard the call, obeyed it, and endured to the end. The Spirit has spoken. The words have gone forth like arrows, like lightning cutting through the night. The call has been sounded to separate from the defiled, to bring the hidden into the light, to enter the narrow door before it shuts, to let go of the false security of wealth, to stand under the mark of distinction, and to lift the trumpet as watchmen on the wall. These are not suggestions for the religiously inclined. They are commands for all who would live. We stand on the edge of a moment that will not come again. The tide is rising, the storm is forming, and the door is moving toward its final closing. The kingdoms of men are trembling. The treasures of this world are crumbling, and the line between the righteous and the wicked is no longer invisible. The days of blending in are over. You will be known by the mark you carry, by the voice you obey, by the stand you take. If the Spirit has spoken, then the only question left is this: will you answer? Will you lay down the things that cannot pass through the narrow door? Will you open your heart to be searched before the light exposes you? Will you shift your trust from what can be shaken to the one who cannot be moved? Will you bear the mark that says you belong to him, even when it costs you everything? Will you take your place on the wall and sound the alarm while there is still time? The days ahead will test the strength of every foundation. The storms will come against every house, but the house built on the rock will stand. The one who hears these words and acts upon them will not be swept away when the flood rises. The one who delays, who waits for a more convenient moment, will find that moment never comes. The Spirit is speaking for August 14th, 2025, but the decision must be made today. Tomorrow is not promised. The door is moving. The light is rising. The trumpet is sounding. Choose this day whom you will serve. Stand in the place you have been called. Walk in the mark you have been given. And when the shaking comes, you will not only endure, you will shine like a beacon in the darkness, a witness that you heard the voice of the Spirit and you answered without delay.